The Salmo 33 in his second part, verses 12 to 22. This is a hymn of hope and trust in the God who governs all nations and lovingly cares for those who fear him. In this video, we will delve, verse by verse, into one of the most beautiful declarations about the Lord's sovereign dominion, the faithfulness of his word, and the certainty that true security lies not in human strength, but in divine care. Is your heart ready to experience this moment of faith and gratitude? Stay until the end, because in addition to a profound and edifying reflection, we will pray together in an inspired prayer based on this psalm, a prayer that can renew your confidence, strengthen your faith, and fill your soul with hope in the power of the Lord. That first part of this psalm we meditated on verses 1 through 11, where we are called to praise the Lord for his marvelous works and the faithfulness of his word. We saw that he is the Creator who orders all things and the Sovereign who sustains the world with justice and truth. Each verse revealed the power and perfection of God's plans, showing that everything he does is firm, wise, and eternal. Now, in this second part in verses 12 to 22, the psalmist leads us on a journey of trust and total surrender. He shows that true blessedness is not found in riches or military strength, but in belonging to God's people. Here, we learn that the Lord's gaze is upon those who fear him and hope in his love. It is a call to rest in divine providence, even when everything around seems uncertain. Each verse is a powerful reminder that victory, hope, and salvation come only from the Lord, our eternal help and shield.
Verse 12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he chose for his inheritance.
This verse is a declaration of spiritual and national principle. The true happiness of a people does not lie in their wealth, power, or culture, but in recognizing the Lord as their God. When a nation submits to the divine will, its moral, social, and spiritual structures are strengthened, for God becomes the center of collective life. The psalmist exalts the blessedness of a people who live under the guidance and care of the Creator, affirming that this is the greatest blessing a nation can possess. David speaks of Israel as the chosen people, but the message goes beyond the borders of a specific country. The nation whose God is the Lord represents every human group that chooses to live according to divine principles. Being chosen by God is not a privilege of the few, but a call to faithfulness and obedience. When a people or individual honors the Lord, he honors them, bless with wisdom, stability, and purpose, and guides you safely through times of crisis and uncertainty. This statement also reminds us of a spiritual responsibility, to build communities and nations where God is honored in every decision, from the home to the government. When the Lord is placed at the center of public and personal life, justice flourishes, truth is valued, and love for one's neighbor becomes the foundation of human relationships. On the other hand, when God is forgotten, moral and spiritual chaos takes hold. Therefore, true spiritual patriotism consists of seeking God's reign over our hearts and over everything we build as a society. In daily life, this verse invites us to place God at the center of our decisions, relationships, and values. A home, a family, a community, or even an individual life can only be truly blessed when the Lord reigns over it. Seeking God's presence before acting, recognizing his sovereignty in every choice, and living with gratitude are attitudes that transform realities. Being part of the nation whose God is the Lord means allowing him to govern the heart and guide every step of the way. To reflect, have I allowed God to reign over my decisions and attitudes? Do my home and my life reflect the values of the kingdom of God? How can I be a channel of blessing in society, living under the Lord's authority?
Verse 13. The Lord looks down from heaven. He sees all the children of mankind.
This verse reveals God's watchful and sovereign gaze over all humanity. He is not a distant or indifferent God, but that one he attentively observes every human being, knowing their intentions, choices, and paths. The psalmist reminds us that nothing escapes his perception, no act of kindness, no silent pain, no hidden injustice. The Lord contemplates the totality of human life, not only to judge, but to care for and act justly in His perfect time. Divine vision is not limited like human vision. God sees beyond appearances and circumstances. He sees the heart. While man judges by appearances, the Lord discerns the inner being. This verse is also a reminder of responsibility. Everything we do is before the eyes of the Creator. However, this awareness should not generate fear, but confidence, for knowing that God sees everything means that He knows both our struggle and our faithfulness, and will justly reward those who walk in righteousness. This divine gaze is also an expression of care and compassion. Knowing that the Lord continually watches over us should bring comfort to troubled hearts, for He sees what no one else sees and understands what no one else comprehends. His vigilance is proof of His constant love. He not only observes, but accompanies, sustains, and intervenes according to His wisdom. When everything seems invisible or forgotten, this verse assures us that God's gaze remains attentive, guarding those who love Him and guiding them tenderly through life's adversities. Applying this truth to daily life means living with the certainty that God is present and attentive to every detail of our lives. Even when no one seems to notice our efforts, the Lord sees. When we feel invisible or wronged, He is watching and preparing the right time to act. This inspires us to live with integrity, to act with love, and to keep our hearts sincere, knowing that every gesture, every prayer, and every tear is seen and valued by God. To reflect, have I been living consciously, knowing that God sees every action and intention of my heart? How can this certainty transform my reactions to injustice or loneliness? How can I express more gratitude for the Lord's constant and caring gaze upon my life?
Verse 14. From His dwelling place, He looks down on all the inhabitants of the earth.
In this verse, the psalmist reinforces the majesty and omniscience of God, who, from the heavenly throne, contemplates the whole earth and all its inhabitants. His dwelling place is not limited by space or time. He reigns above all and sees everything with perfect clarity. This image reveals divine sovereignty. The Lord governs the world with wisdom and justice, and nothing that happens on the human plane escapes His dominion. He observes not as a distant spectator, but as the King who watches attentively over His creation. God's vision is all-encompassing and penetrating. He sees the hearts of kings and the cries of the simple, public actions and secret intentions. Even if it seems that the world follows its own course, God's gaze is upon every nation, every home, and every person. This certainty brings comfort, for it reminds us that we are not left to chance or the control of human forces, but under the watchful eyes of the Creator, who sees beyond appearances and judges with righteousness. This verse also invites us to reverence and profound trust. Knowing that the Lord, from His eternal dwelling, contemplates all the inhabitants of the earth should awaken in us a sense of responsibility and humility before His presence. Nothing is too small to escape His gaze, nor too great to be beyond His reach. He knows every decision, every word, and every intention, and governs with a perfect balance between mercy and justice. This awareness leads us to sincere worship and the serenity of those who know that the entire universe is under the sovereign care of the God who sees all and sustains all. To live in the light of this verse is to learn to rest in God's loving watchfulness. When chaos seems to dominate and injustice seems to prevail, we must remember that the Lord continues to watch from His throne and nothing escapes His control. This awareness invites us to live righteously, knowing that He sees our inner being, and also to trust fully, even when we do not understand the ways of life. The Lord's gaze is the guarantee that truth will prevail and that each of our steps is guided under His perfect vision. To reflect, am I aware that God's gaze is with me at all times? How can I find rest and security knowing that He watches over and cares for me? What does this verse teach me about living with integrity and trust in the watchful gaze of the Creator?
Verse 15. He who formed the hearts of them all considers all their works.
God is the creator of every human heart, the one who molds our essence and knows every emotion, thought, and intention. This verse reveals that the Lord not only gave us life, but also formed the center of our spiritual sensitivity, where our deepest feelings reside. The human heart is, therefore, a divine work, created to reflect the love, justice, and wisdom of God Himself. When the psalmist states that God considers all His works, he highlights the Creator's attentive and discerning gaze upon everything we do. The Lord observes not only the results, but also the purpose that motivates us. He knows what is hidden, what no one else sees, and judges with fairness, taking into account both the action and the intention. This reminds us that transparency before God is the true path to righteousness. This verse also reveals how deeply God understands us. He knows our most secret motivations and understands what goes on inside us even before we can express them. Every action, every thought, and every choice is seen with a loving and just gaze. This should not generate fear, but comfort, because knowing that God formed our hearts means that He also knows how to restore them when they are wounded, guide them when they are confused, and strengthen them when they are weary. He is the only one who truly understands us, and it is in Him that we find the balance between justice, mercy, and purpose. Applying this verse to daily life means cultivating a heart sensitive to God's presence. It means striving to act with sincerity, knowing that the Lord sees beyond appearances. When we live aware that He searches our hearts, we learn to choose good, to forgive more easily, and to act with purity of purpose. A heart molded by God is one that allows itself to be guided by truth and love. To reflect, have I been living with a transparent heart before God? Do my actions reflect what I truly believe and feel deep inside? What do I need to surrender to the Lord so that He may mold my heart according to His will?
Verse 16. Victory is not won by the strength of the army, nor is deliverance by the might of the warrior.
This verse reminds us that, however much human beings seek security and success in their own power or ability, true victory does not lie in physical strength or military strategy. David affirms that the Lord is the one who determines destinies, and that no human preparation is sufficient without divine approval and intervention. The focus should always be on trusting in God, and not just in our limited capabilities. Salvation, protection, and success are not guaranteed by human strength, but by God's sovereignty. Even the most prepared or courageous can fail if they try to rely solely on themselves. The psalmist emphasizes that true victory is a divine gift, a result of the Creator's care and guidance, who observes and governs all situations, great or small. This verse also invites us to reflect on where we have placed our trust. Often, we place our hope in human resources, influence, or talents, forgetting that all strength is limited before the greatness of God. He is the one who grants victory, not according to human merit, but according to His will and purpose. When we surrender our plans to the Lord, recognizing that we depend entirely on Him, we experience a peace that transcends logic and a security that no human structure can offer. It is in surrendering to divine power that we find true strength. Applying this teaching to our daily lives means recognizing our limitations and learning to depend on God in all areas. Whether at work, in the family, or in important decisions, we must seek divine guidance and trust that He is the one who sustains us. Human strength is useful, but true security comes from a heart that waits and trusts in the Lord, even in the face of adversity. To reflect, have I been relying more on my own strength or on God's guidance? How can I surrender my daily battles to the Lord? Am I ready to depend on Him in every decision of my life?
Verse 17. The eyes of the Lord are on those who fear Him, on those who hope in His mercy.
David shows us that God's protection and attention are not generalized, but directed towards those who revere Him and trust in His goodness. The fear of God here is not fear, but profound respect and reverence that generate obedience and dependence. It is a relationship of active trust, where hope in the Lord shapes attitudes, choices, and decisions, knowing that He observes, guides, and cares for those who approach Him with sincerity. This verse reveals that God is always attentive to the needs, struggles, and longings of His children. He does not merely observe passively, but cares, sustains, and intervenes according to His perfect will. Divine attention is an invitation to surrender and hope, showing that those who place their trust in the Lord never walk alone, for He watches over, protects, and guides every step of the way. This verse also teaches us that living under the Lord's gaze is living in rest and security, even when everything around us seems uncertain. Those who fear Him and hope in His mercy experience a deep communion with Him, a relationship where faith replaces anxiety and hope overcomes discouragement. Trusting in God means remaining steadfast, even without understanding the timing or the paths, because we know that His watchful eye never leaves us. He not only sees us, He sustains us, comforts us, and guides us with faithful love in all circumstances. Applying this teaching to daily life means cultivating a life of reverence and hope. We should seek to live in communion with God, trusting that He is attentive to our circumstances, supporting us and guiding our choices. Even in the face of uncertainty, we can rest assured that the Lord cares for us, observes our steps, and answers our prayers according to His mercy and love. To reflect, have I sought to live with reverence and trust in God? Do I trust that He watches over and cares for every detail of my life? How can I strengthen my hope and dependence on His mercy today?
Verse 18. Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear Him, on those who hope in His mercy, to deliver their souls from death and to keep them alive.
David emphasizes that God's vigilance is not merely observation, but protective action. Those who fear Him and hope in His mercy receive special care, for God is attentive to their deepest needs. The Lord promises to deliver the soul from death, protecting it from physical, spiritual, and emotional dangers, ensuring that the life of faith is preserved and strengthened in the face of adversity. The promise of sustenance and deliverance reflects divine faithfulness in all dimensions of life. God does not leave His children at the mercy of circumstances. He intervenes with power, guidance, and grace. This verse shows that trusting in the Lord's mercy transforms the believer's perception. There is no reason for despair, for He sustains, protects, and renews those who fear Him, offering hope even amidst chaos and uncertainty. This verse also reminds us that God's care goes beyond physical preservation. He guards the soul, the center of our faith and hope. When we trust in His mercy, we are strengthened to face fear and pain, certain that nothing can escape His loving gaze. The Lord not only prevents destruction but also grants abundant life to those who wait on Him. Thus, every battle and every trial becomes an opportunity to witness the faithfulness of a God who does not abandon His own but sustains them with tenderness and power. Applying this teaching to daily life means learning to place our lives in God's hands, trusting that He protects and sustains us. In moments of fear, anxiety, or danger, we can rest in the promise that our soul is safe and that He delivers us from everything that could destroy us. Active faith invites us to live with courage, knowing that divine mercy is constant, transforming insecurity into confidence and despair into hope. To reflect, am I fully trusting that God will deliver me from danger and sustain my life? How can I hope in His mercy even in difficult situations? How can my faith be strengthened knowing that He cares for every detail of my soul?
Verse 19. The salvation of the righteous comes from the Lord. He is their stronghold in times of trouble.
David reminds us that true security and deliverance do not come from human strength, but from the Lord. The righteous, those who seek to live according to God's will, find in Him the salvation and protection necessary to face crises, difficulties, and threats. The strength mentioned is both spiritual and emotional, offering resistance against fears, anxieties, and external pressures that could shake the believer's faith. Trust in the Lord's salvation transforms the way we face challenges. It teaches us that, even when the situation seems hopeless, we are not alone and do not need to rely solely on our own strategies. God is the solid foundation upon which we can stand, and He is the one who ensures that our steps are firm, even in turbulent and uncertain times. Applying this verse to our lives today means seeking refuge in God first, before trying to solve everything on our own. In times of crisis, it is a call to pray, rest, and trust that He will sustain us. Active faith helps us face problems with serenity, knowing that, although circumstances may be challenging, the Lord remains our firm rock and safe refuge. To reflect, am I trusting in the Lord for my salvation and protection, or am I trying to rely solely on my own strength? How can I acknowledge God as my fortress amidst difficulties? In what ways can my practical faith change my reaction to daily anxieties?
Verse 20. Our soul waits for the Lord. He is our help and shield.
David reveals here an attitude of complete trust in the Lord, demonstrating that actively waiting on God is accompanied by the certainty that He acts in favor of those who seek Him. Waiting on the Lord does not mean passivity, but rather recognizing that He is the source of all protection and guidance. The shield mentioned symbolizes defense against attacks, tribulations, and pressures that can shake faith, while the help reinforces the idea that God intervenes with power and care in the lives of those who trust in Him. This verse invites us to place all our expectation and hope in God, knowing that He is sufficient to sustain us. Our soul finds rest and renewal when it does not despair in the face of circumstances, but keeps its focus on divine faithfulness. Active trust allows us to deal with fears, insecurities, and challenges, knowing that we are not helpless and that the Lord fulfills His promises in His perfect time. Applying this verse to daily life means recognizing the importance of depending on God in all areas of life, whether in decisions, financial difficulties, relationships, or health problems. Waiting on Him with patience and faith transforms anxiety into peace and strengthens the heart. It is trusting that every step taken with Him as a shield is safe, and that His help manifests itself in ways that often surpass our understanding. To reflect, am I waiting patiently on the Lord or trying to solve everything on my own? How can I experience God as my help and shield in daily situations? How does my trust in Him impact my decisions and my heart in times of difficulty?
Verse 21. In Him our hearts rejoice, because we trust in His holy name.
David shows us that true joy is born from trust in God. When the heart is anchored in the holy name of the Lord, it finds reason to be happy. I rejoice. Even in the face of challenges and uncertainties, faith transforms perspective. Instead of fearing the future or being overwhelmed by difficulties, trust in God generates serenity, hope, and a profound joy that does not depend on external circumstances. Trusting in the holy name of the Lord means acknowledging His authority, faithfulness, and goodness. It is believing that He is worthy of honor and that His promises never fail. This intimate relationship with God produces emotional and spiritual stability, allowing the heart to rejoice even when life presents obstacles. Joy becomes the fruit of constant faith, not the absence of problems. Applying this verse to our lives means choosing to trust in God before letting ourselves be carried away by worries. It means remembering that, even when the world seems unstable, our hearts can rejoice because He is faithful and powerful. Practicing this trust strengthens our inner peace, renews our spirits, and helps us face each day with gratitude and confidence in His guidance and protection. To reflect, is my joy based on circumstances or on trust in God? How can I strengthen my faith so that my heart rejoices in any situation? Am I honoring the Lord's holy name with my daily trust?
Verse 22. May your mercy, Lord, be upon us as we have put our hope in you.
David concludes this part of the psalm with a declaration of complete dependence on God's mercy. He acknowledges that all protection, sustenance, and blessing do not come from human efforts, but from the Lord's faithful and compassionate love. This verse is a plea and a reminder that true hope is rooted in divine goodness and faithfulness, which never fail and are renewed each day for those who trust in Him. The expression, "as we have hoped in you," reinforces that divine mercy is the foundation of our trust and security. David shows that expectation in God should be active, not passive. It is a constant trust, manifested in prayer, praise, and obedience. Recognizing that we depend on His daily mercy keeps us humble and attentive to God's presence in every moment of life. Applying this verse to our daily lives means waiting with faith, even when problems pile up. It is placing our trust in God's mercy, knowing that He acts on our behalf and fulfills His promises in His own time. This hope strengthens the soul, gives us courage to face challenges, and reminds us that our lives are safe in the hands of the One who is merciful, just, and faithful. To reflect, do I trust in God's mercy even in difficult times? Is my hope grounded in God's faithfulness or in my own strength? How can I practice daily active expectation in God, waiting with faith and patience? We have reached the end of part 2 of Psalm 33, and we can see how each verse reveals God's sovereignty, faithfulness, and mercy toward those who hope in Him. This second part showed us the importance of remaining confident, praising sincerely, and waiting patiently, recognizing that the Lord is the source of all blessing, protection, and sustenance. Each experience presented by the psalmist teaches us that true hope does not depend on circumstances, but on the certainty that God acts in favor of those who trust. May we take these lessons into our daily lives, allowing the Word to transform our thoughts, decisions, and attitudes, strengthening our faith. To seal this message in our hearts, I invite you to pray this psalm for 6 more days, reading each verse as a declaration of faith, trust, and surrender. Allow the Lord to renew your hope, strengthen your spirit, and transform challenges into opportunities for spiritual growth. May each word awaken in you the certainty that God is your strength, refuge, and safe haven. Return to this prayer whenever you feel weak or discouraged, remembering that the Lord's presence brings security, comfort, and courage to persevere. May this daily practice strengthen your confidence and deepen your relationship with God. Now that we understand the meaning of each verse and the message the Lord wishes to deliver to us through this second part of Psalm 33, I invite you to continue meditating and praying for 6 more days. Read each verse as a declaration of faith, trust, and surrender, allowing the Lord's light to illuminate your uncertainties and strengthen your spirit. May this daily practice awaken in your heart the certainty that God is your strength, your shield, and your safe refuge, capable of sustaining every step and protecting every decision. Remain steadfast in hope, even when the challenges seem greater than you can bear. Remember that every word of the psalm is a reminder of God's faithfulness, ready to manifest itself in your life. Trust that He never abandons those who sincerely hope in Him. And to seal this message in our hearts, we invite you now to pray and keep with you this prayer inspired by Psalm 33 Part 2. Return to it whenever you feel discouraged or when circumstances seem bleak. Remember that the Lord never abandons those who seek Him with sincere faith, and that His presence is a safe haven against all fear, injustice, and uncertainty. May this prayer renew your hope, strengthen your confidence, and bring forth in you the peace of one who has learned to wait on the Lord. Remain steadfast, with faith, courage, and a confident heart, until He fulfills all His promises in your life.
Prayer inspired by Psalm 33, Part 2, verses 12 to 22. Almighty God, I place my life and my path before you, trusting that you are our strength and protection. Strengthen my heart amidst tribulations, illuminate my decisions with your wisdom, and guide my steps according to your righteousness. May I remain steadfast even when the world around me seems uncertain or hostile. Teach me to praise you sincerely, to trust in your power, and to recognize that every victory comes from you. May my faith become a testament to your faithfulness, and may my hope never waver. May every action of mine reflect the security I find in you, Lord. Beloved Father, help me to wait on you with patience and courage, knowing that your eyes see all and your mercy is constant. Protect me from all envy, malice, and injustice, and clothe me with your love that sustains and renews. May I recognize your providence in the details of daily life, and may each difficulty become an opportunity for spiritual growth. Strengthen my confidence, Lord, so that I may not falter in the face of trials. May my soul rejoice in your presence, and may my gratitude be continuous, even in challenging times. May my life be marked by your peace, protection, and divine guidance. Lord, make my heart a safe haven for your word, a place of faith, hope, and surrender. May I never forget that you are my shield and my firm rock, capable of transforming despair into confidence and fear into courage. Teach me to depend on you in all circumstances, to praise you in every victory and every challenge, and to seek you sincerely every day. May my life be a light to those around me, reflecting your goodness and your faithfulness. Lord, renew my strength, renew my hope, and cause lasting peace and joy to spring forth within me. May my heart remain steadfast, confident, and full of gratitude until all your promises are fulfilled in my life. In the name of Jesus, amen.
If this message touched your heart, like this video and share it with someone who needs to remember that, even in the midst of pain, uncertainty, or trials, the Lord remains our strength, our shield, and the one who sustains us with love and faithfulness. May we, together, learn to trust more and more in God's presence, to cry out for His help in all circumstances, and to live with courage, certain that He never abandons those who seek Him with sincere faith. Subscribe to the channel to continue following profound reflections on the Psalms. Activate notifications to receive each new study and leave your prayer request in the comments so that we can intercede for you with faith, affection, and dedication. May the Lord strengthen your heart to remain steadfast in the face of difficulties, to cultivate gratitude in every step, and to find secure rest in the certainty that He is with you at all times. May your life be marked by unwavering trust in divine care, serenity amidst struggles, and the joy of one who understands that waiting on and trusting in the Lord is the greatest demonstration of faith. Until the next video, may God bless your life, your family, and your business.